I'm a certified lymphedema therapist, and I want to teach you how to dry brush for real. So we actually start by setting the dry brush down and using our hands to open up lymph node clusters. So starting with hands above the collarbones, creating gentle circles. The reason we open up the lymph nodes is because we are going to be moving lymphatic fluid with our dry brush, moving to behind the ears next. And we want to make sure that these lymph nodes are nice and open and prepared to receive lymphatic fluid that we're moving. So then circles in the armpit, just using a broad flat hand, getting some nice skin movement, moving that tissue around, just affecting the lymphatic system by creating some movement in these areas. I'm doing about 8 to 10 circles in each of these areas, but you can do it for as little or as much as you like. There's no bottom or top limit to it. And then working in the abdomen between the navel and the sternum, creating some circles here and taking some nice deep breaths as we're working through the sequence. And then hitting the inguinal nodes by taking a flat hand and creating circles in the hip crease from the outer hip all the way to the inner thigh. This area drains the legs. And then doing some circles behind the knee. And now we've prepped all of our major lymph nodes to receive fluid. So we're going to be moving from the top down and always using small, gentle strokes and always directing those strokes towards a set of lymph nodes. So as we're working down the neck, we're directing that lymphatic fluid towards the lymphatic nodes that are in the collarbone. And then we'll work our way across the chest from the midline out towards the armpit, again, always directing those strokes towards a set of lymph nodes. And whenever we're working on the torso of the body, we want to move from the center out because fluid on the left side will move towards left side nodes and fluid on the right side will move towards the right side nodes. And so we're working right alongside with that lymphatic anatomy to help encourage fluid where it wants to go, which is towards the lymph nodes. So starting from the center and moving out, always directing towards lymph nodes. And now we hit some lymphatic collectors on the outer shoulder along the deltoid. So just brushing up on the outer deltoid, hitting the shoulder. And we'll do the same thing on both sides. Now you'll see a little bit of a skin stretch as I'm moving this, how whenever I'm using a small stroke, it's essentially moving the skin. And that's what we're going for with this dry brush to move lymphatic fluid. So now we work down the inner arm. Look at these small strokes that I'm using, small strokes directed towards the armpit. And I start closest to the set of lymph nodes, and then I start to work my way down the limb with strokes moving up towards the lymph nodes. So I'm clearing the area, and then as I'm working down that limb, I've already cleared the upper part, so the fluid has a nice clear pathway to go. So I'm working down the inside of the arm, and then back up it with small strokes. And now I'll do the same thing on the back side of the arm. So starting at the top of the arm, using small strokes up and working all the way down that arm. Again, we want to get a little bit of a skin stretch here. We're aiming to move superficial lymphatic fluid, which lives just below the skin. So we don't need to use too much pressure, which is why the dry brush is so effective at moving lymphatic fluid, is because it really helps us to get that light pressure, that nice, gentle skin stretch. And now same thing on the other side. So starting at the top of the arm, working in small strokes. Those strokes are moving up towards the armpit. And then as we start to clear the area, we move down the arm, continuing with those small strokes. Again, looking for that nice, gentle skin stretch. Now, a bonus of the dry brush is that it's exfoliating, so it can be a little bit rough to the touch, which can feel good. But if any part of your body feels like this is painful or really uncomfortable to do, skip that part. Nothing in the lymphatic drainage world should really be painful or intolerable. So if it feels like it's too rough, just skip it and move to a different part. So we're working down the outer arm here. Those small strokes, the strokes always moving up towards the armpit. Now, if you can reach the back, which I can because I have a handle on my dry brush, you can reach back and again, starting from the center and moving those strokes out. So I'm sort of aiming those strokes towards the armpit. And then same thing with the lower back. If you can reach, Then reach around the lower back and direct that fluid towards the front. Fluid in the body moves from the back towards the front. And so again, we're just working with our lymphatic anatomy to encourage fluid where it already wants to go. Reaching around the back and directing fluid with small strokes towards the front of the body. Now to work the abdomen, I start with brush strokes down. Imagine that fluid moving down towards the inguinal lymph nodes. Now, technically, we do have in the upper abdomen, some of that fluid directs towards the axillary nodes or the armpit, which we'll cover in a little bit, but I always just start by kind of brushing down, getting some nice superficial lymphatic movement here. We also have lots of deep abdominals, which we can affect by taking deep breaths as we're doing this. Now we go from the center out, and this will help to cover the upper abdomen a little bit more, brushing from our midline. The right side moves towards the right, and the left side moves towards the left. So just covering the abdomen really thoroughly with either downward or outward strokes. And then just like we moved down the inner arm and then up the outer arm, we do the same thing with the leg. So starting at the upper inner thigh, small brush strokes towards the inguinal lymph nodes. And then we keep the strokes moving in the same direction as we move the dry brush down the inner thigh. Again, fluid moving from the outside in, from the back forward. So we're clearing the pathway first. So we're clearing the inner leg, working our way down with upward strokes, and then up with upward strokes. Again, getting that nice benefit of exfoliation with the dry brush as well. And then moving to the outer leg, so starting at the upper outer leg, covering this area with strokes that are moving upwards towards the inguinal lymph nodes. Those strokes stay moving in the same direction as we work our way down the outer leg. Nice small strokes, always moving up towards a set of lymph nodes. And then we move to the other side, starting from the upper inner thigh with upward strokes towards the inguinal nodes. Again, looking for that nice skin stretch. That skin stretch is a sign that you're moving lymphatic fluid. We're affecting the skin where superficial lymphatic vessels live. Working our way down the inner thigh, covering this area for however long feels good. With dry brushing, we don't want to do it too much to over exfoliate. I recommend dry brushing 1 to 2 times a week. It's not something we necessarily want to do every day because of the exfoliative nature. And then we work our way down the outer leg with upward strokes. Really aiming for that skin stretch. Most important thing to remember with our dry brushing is to use small, gentle strokes and to always have those strokes be directed towards a set of lymph nodes. And that is how to properly dry brush.